Well, when a New York Times selling book becomes a movie, you can bet it's going to be a good one. And that's the case for the new movie Love in Taipei. It's based on a novel, Love Boat Taipei, which tells the story of a young American woman on a cultural immersion program in Taipei, where she begins a new journey of self-discovery and romance. And here to give us more details on the film is director Arvin Chen and author Abigail Hing Wen. Hello, how are you? Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Sure. So, Abigail, I know that you actually were on Love Boat. You were in the Love Boat program in Taiwan. And so you must have a lot of alumni and friends that were excited about the book and now of the film. What's their reaction been?
Absolutely. No, it's been really fun. We've actually asked alumni to start sharing their own photos from their days. And so we're starting to see glamour shots and, groups of friends, people on the bus.
Yeah.
And these images are, like, I think of them as iconic, and now it's wonderful to see them reflected in the film as well.
Yeah, so exciting. So, and let me ask you, so when you're adapting your book to the film, were there certain aspects of the book that you wanted to hold true? Because I know sometimes, the film is not always, following the book, and you have a 3-series book. So were there certain aspects that were just really important that remained conveyed in the film?
Absolutely, yeah. So when producers asked me that question, I said, there's 30 different Asian and Asian American characters in this novel, and that's who the community is. It's a very diverse community of people who have all kinds of interests, all kinds of personalities, and I wanted that diversity reflected on the screen in a way that, we hadn't at that point seen in Hollywood.
Yeah.
But I was also really excited to lean into things like the city of Taipei, which couldn't be conveyed as well in print, and the kinetic energy of dance. And so I think all of that is in the film. And thanks to Arvin and this incredible group of people who worked on this film.
Yeah. Arvin, I know that you have made films before in Taiwan, but this was the first film that was really made for a Western audience. So tell us a little bit about the balance between making a mainstream movie, but also keeping to what's authentic in culture in Taiwan.
Yeah, that was the fun challenge of doing this project, actually, was trying to take a city that I know very well, but to kind of heighten it and make it for a Western audience, and just try to find like the things that are beautiful about it and romantic about it and really lively about it, and bring it out on film, which I hadn't really done before because it was much more about making a local film. So this time it was really trying to create like a new vision of Taipei, again, like based on what Abigail gave us from the book.
Right. The casting was incredible. How did you both know that you found your lead when you found that Ever? What was it about her?
For me, it was just, she had that nice balance because she is a girl, fish out of water, a girl who hasn't experienced much of the world, but then she grows into herself. So trying to find the balance of someone who could do both of those things. She could convince you that, she hadn't been outside much in the world. And yet when she starts to find herself, she gets like a lot more self-confidence.
Sure. Also, Arvin, I know that you grew up in America as an Asian American youth, and then you moved to Taipei yourself. Were you able to draw upon your experience when you were helping to kind of direct the actors and in that feeling to come across in the film?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I did it almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But that feeling was still very much, inside me. So again, I was trying to draw on that with the main actors. And I think, to be honest, just coming to Taiwan and shooting the movie, that did so much more for them than anything else I could have told them, because I think they really went through the experience of what it was like to be, I think for the most part, they had never been to Taiwan. Some of them hadn't even been to Asia.
Yeah.
So that experience you really capture that feeling in the movie because it's honest and authentic to what they experienced. Yeah, it was real.
I have a question for both of you. Something that's very common in Asian American families is this struggle between, as a child, pursuing your dreams versus what path your parents want you to pursue. I know many Asian Americans, myself included, we can identify with that. I'm wondering, you're both in very creative industries as a writer and as a film director. Did either of you go through that?
So I very much say this journey of Evers is my own internal one, but interestingly enough, it had to do with my parents wanting me to go into public service. So I actually worked on the Senate Judiciary Committee. I was a young intern on Capitol Hill. I worked on the House side as well. And there was a moment when I called my dad and I can't do this. I can't hack this world. I think it's different now. I find it's interesting that I've kind of in some ways come full circle. In the sense, I do think of the work that I'm doing as public service, as representation, as giving voice to people who don't have a voice.
Absolutely.
But I came about it in a very different way and found my own path.
Yeah. What about you, Arvin?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. As a younger younger, even as a child, wanting to make movies was still kind of just, it was like a pipe dream.
Yeah.
My parents came around to it, but it took a lot of convincing and took a lot of me getting older and them seeing that I was still sticking to it before they really finally got their support. But to their credit, they did finally support it, but it took a while.
Awesome. Right. Well, thank you so very much for sharing with us. I'm so excited for this film, and I want to thank you both for creating a film that really puts Asian American actors, men and women, in leading roles and portraying them in such positive ways. It's something very personally important to me, and I'm so excited. I can't wait to watch the film. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for chatting.
Again, you can stream Love in Taipei on Paramount Plus.